Good morning, manna gatherers. It's me, Jerry Catherine, here for real in the morning. To be honest, I usually pre-record my mannas on the evening or afternoon or morning the day before the manna actually pops up on YouTube. But this morning, on Thursday, March 4th, I had to look at the calendar. What's today? It's the 4th, March 4th. I am actually up early in the morning. Shh, the boys are still sleeping in the next room, and I'm gonna get ready to go for my morning run. But before I do that, here we are for our morning manna. Today I will be reading from the Modern English Version translation of the Bible, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge God, and God will direct your paths. So for the last few days, we have been with the NRSV translation of the Bible, and it said, seek God's will in all you do. And today, in the MEV, the Modern English Version translation, it reads, in all your ways acknowledge God. This translation made me think of a story that I believe I have already told you, another Hiram Clyde story. He was playing at a friend's house, and the subject of God came up, as it does with 6-year-olds. And the little boy told Hiram Clyde that he and his family, well, they don't believe in God. And they don't only not believe there is a God, but that God is not real. To which Hiram Clyde, without missing a beat, said, that's okay. Just because you don't believe God exists doesn't make it true. God is real whether you acknowledge God or not. This exchange of religious dialogue among our 6-year-olds was shared to me by the little boy's mother, who eavesdropped on the conversation in case she needed to step in and moderate the conversation. But the boys just had this little conversation and went on to their next subject, probably something like Bakugans or Power Rangers or let's climb a tree outside. Both boys don't fully understand what they are talking about. They're 6-year-olds, and they were okay with that, with not fully understanding. And as Hiram Clyde's mom, I was so proud because he didn't feel the need to give a long list of all the ways he knows God is real and exists. And maybe he didn't really know how to articulate that just yet. So he, in his lack of understanding, gave a beautiful, simple answer. I don't know how to explain God, but just because I can't and you can't doesn't mean God isn't real. Just because I don't fully understand, I will not let that stop me from acknowledging God, if I was going to paraphrase Hiram Clyde's answer. Hiram Clyde's commentary is truly a gift to me and to all adults who like to have things figured out, like to have answers, or they get a little rattled or defensive if we can't, or upset and mad even, if we can't explain something or come into contact with someone who says something to challenge everything we thought we understood. Yeah, this little friend of Hiram Clyde's did that to him, Hiram Clyde, but he didn't get rattled about it. He didn't get upset. He didn't silence him or not want to play with him anymore. They went on. None of that has to, when we confront people who rattle us, challenge us, have different beliefs, none of that has to sway our acknowledgement or deter us from seeking God. We do not have to have it all figured out, period. We don't have to have it all figured out to simply acknowledge God. Okay, there's a God. I don't understand fully all the things of God. We are works in progress. I know I've said that before to you. And God made us that way, knowing perfectly well that our finiteness would have a hard time acknowledging and comprehending and understanding God's infiniteness. And so maybe we are, after all, hardwired to have such moments where we don't understand, so that we will be led to seek, to acknowledge that God is God and I am human. And in this acknowledgement, we reach out to understand this God who created us more. That's what happened when Hiram Clyde had this conversation with his little friend. It made him want to know more. Because before this mother could even tell me about the conversation, Hiram Clyde got in the car when I picked him up and said, "Did you know they don't believe in God?" And I said, "Let's talk about that, buddy." But realistically, we live in a world and tons of people who like to have hard, concrete, visible proof. And well, that just is not faith, says the Apostle Paul in Hebrews 11. Faith is the conviction of things not seen. Faith acknowledges that there is a God without completely and fully understanding this God and all of God's ways. Do I need to say that again? Faith is the conviction of things not seen. Not completely understood, too, we could add. Faith acknowledges that there is a God without completely or fully understanding this God in all of God's ways. So, my friends, I once again, for the second or third time this week, encourage you to continue to lean into areas of your faith life that you don't understand, that you have questions about, and you doubt even. But in doing so, remember that you can acknowledge that there is a God, simply that there is a God, and that God, again, as I have already said this week, is in your search to know God deeper, wider, and fuller. So, just 2 more days with Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. A friend gave me quite a hard time about my manna this week, telling me that people seek God, or they come to church seeking comfort, not to be mentally challenged. Well, I seek God and value the community of the church for both, to be spiritually and mentally fed and challenged too. I hope there have been words for you of comfort even as we contemplate our lack of understanding of all the God things. And with that, I will simply say, see you tomorrow. 2 more days, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.